Good morning, everyone. It is truly a wonderful day to learn about social media marketing, and it's a really good day to be outside. The weather is amazing. I think it's only going to get to 69 today, so enjoy it while you can. My name is Alex. I'm a graduate fellow working with the Office of Economic Vitality, and we're here today with two social media marketing experts, John Brown, founder and CEO of Brown's Consult and Black Men's Health, and Amelia Denson, a digital strategist with the Moore Agency. A jack of all trades and a master of all. I think John began his career with a background in civil and software engineering, working at the Kennedy Space Center and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And since then, he's co-founded a tech startup. He's served as a board member of the American Advertising Federation, started a communications and marketing consultancy called Brown's Consult with his wife, Letitia. And I think they just celebrated their 19th wedding anniversary. So give them a congrats. And he's also done much, much more. And I just want to note, I'm not even scratching the surface of everything that he's done. If I outlined every single thing that John has done, we would be here all day. So if you're interested in learning more about John, you could read a full bio on him on his online magazine, blackmenshealth.com. So thank you, John, for being here. And also here today, we have Amelia Denson from the Moore Agency. Amelia is a digital strategist with a focus on social good and cause marketing. She's helped some of the world's largest brands ideate, plan, innovate, and execute multi-channel programs with flawless execution. She has a super diverse background and a wealth of experience, honestly, that has ranged from account, client, creative, influencer, and project management to digital, social, and editorial production and execution. So we're so excited to have you here, Amelia, as well. So now that we've been introduced to our lovely speakers, let's jump on in and learn how to harness social media to better market our businesses. And we will have some time for Q&A, but first I'm going to let our panelists talk a little bit about what they do and share some of their favorite tips and tricks around social media marketing. And we're going to start with Amelia.
Sure. Thank you so much, Alex. Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are enjoying the weather today. Happy Thursday. We're almost to the weekend. So excited to chat with you guys here to go over everything across the board in terms of how you can use social media to build your brand, to build your business, to build your audiences across channels. And if you wouldn't mind pulling up the presentation, just a couple of things to go over for you guys, and looking forward to all of your questions at the end as well. Awesome. Thank you so much. You can go to the next slide. So a couple of things. I do use social media within my personal life and then also professional life as well. I love an Instagram. Don't get started on all the dog accounts. I also live for Italian soccer on Twitter. But I've been fortunate to work on some really great brands in the past, everything from MasterCard, American Girl, which was a really fun passion project that was really focused on cause marketing, to Procter & Gamble. So they make everything from Bounty to Puffs. Unilever, they're the world's largest ice cream maker, so yes, please. And then luckily get a chance to work on CareerSource Florida here in Tallahassee at the Moore Agency. So really helping job seekers find resources to find, employment, move in their career, also business owners as well in terms of everything from training grants. So I get to have the chance to tell those stories, to find those story angles, to build content, to work with great videographers, to tell those stories, even down to taking photo shoots across all of Florida to highlight all of those great individuals. And so on my end, I tell those stories. I get to the meat of it, and I understand the goals for the organization and how I can tell those stories across channels, knowing channel nuances, what's going to motivate you to take that action on Instagram versus how you can lean into LinkedIn to build that voice, to build that leadership experience. So you guys know the power of social media. It's been around for ages and ages, but what I love about it is it really is audience focused. So if you have a brand or a business or organization focused on, teens, there is a social platform where teens spend their time. And so it's understanding the audience, where they spend their time, and then I'm carving out a really unique role for your brand, for your business on those channels. What social looked like yesterday is going to look like very different today. And so that's the power of it. That's the beauty of it. It's always constantly changing. And so it gives you the chance to innovate and to lean into trends and to lean into all of that and carve out a really unique role for yourself and for your brand and for your business and for your thought leadership as well. So we always start with a process at the More agency. It really helps us, figure out everything down to what are we trying to achieve? Who are we trying to reach? And so I love this 6-prong approach for as you're building your process, as you're building your strategy for social media. We always start with insights, right? So understanding the audience, who are you trying to reach? What are they, how are they spending their time online? What's engaging them? What are they thinking about today versus what are they thinking about yesterday? Understanding all of those nuances. What are they talking about? What's engaging with them? As I'm looking towards the weekend, what I'm thinking about today is very different from what I was thinking about on Monday. And so understanding, how things change across channels, across lives, across feeds, all of that. And then we go into planning. So what are you ultimately trying to achieve? Are you trying to grow your sales? Are you trying to engage audiences? Are you trying to get audiences to sign up? Are you trying to get them to visit a website, visit a landing page, all of those different things? And so understanding all of those goals, objectives, and KPIs in terms of outlining, what does success look like for you? And that can change. Success could look very different today versus at the end of the year, even into next year. And so being mindful of all of those different things. Then you go into the framework, and I have some fun things to show you guys. Understanding your content pillars. What do you talk about as a brand? Is it focused on news and updates? Are you an organization that have a ton of events going around, which, luckily we're in the place where we are seeing more in-person events? Is it really focused on sustainability? Is it really focused on fashion or food or what have you? And so carving out those topic areas, and they can change, which is the beauty of social. Then you go into your tone of voice. How do you communicate online? Is it flirty, playful? Is it more serious in tone? Is it even comical? Are you a funny brand? And so leaning into that, making sure that, how you're communicating online is represented to your organization, to your business. Then we go into the super fun part, which is how to create. How do you develop that content across channels, across audiences? A piece of content on LinkedIn is going to look very different versus what's going to engage audiences on TikTok. And then tweak as needed. Then you go into the planning process, this is a great time for anybody to kind of carve out what the next year looks like. So even going down into 2023, we'll be here before you know it. And so what does next year look like? Do you have a lot of events? Let's go ahead and carve it out. Do you have a big anniversary? Do you have a celebration? Do you have a really big focus on X, Y, and Z? Let's go ahead and plan it out. Then you go into the publishing process. The 5th piece is really focus on listening. How is your content performing? Is it engaging audiences? Do you need to pull back on something because it's just not encouraging that conversation that you wanted? And then engage. Once you put something up online, engage with that audience. You're going to get some really great comments, and it will give you some really good feedback to lean into. For example, are you seeing people having issues with your website? That's okay. Let's learn from that and lean into it, and maybe plan some pieces in the new year to help mitigate some of that stuff. Are people, really engaging with, certain product that you might have? Let's build that out even further. Then you go into the evaluation piece. So how do you, based on your goals and objectives, let's look at how are we doing? What do we need to tweak? Maybe, for example, maybe you posted too many Instagram stories as of late and you're just not getting the engagement that you want. Let's pull back on that and reserve those resources for things that are reaching your goals and reaching your objectives. So we love a framework. It helps us organize everything. And so one framework that we use quite a bit for our clients is this framework called the Hero Hub and Hygiene. And so it's it looks more complicated than it is. It's very simple. And so hero, just think of the big stuff that you have going on. So, maybe you're a local retailer, and the holidays, of course, are such a big motivator for people purchasing and all of that. And so maybe every year you have a big hero campaign around the holidays. Let's go ahead and plan that out. That helps with so many different things. That helps with awareness, of course. It helps with engagement. Let's also think about just stuff that's regularly going on without your business. That could be everything down to, again, taking that retailer approach. Maybe you have a regular sale that's consistent, and that helps people, with user experience, awareness, engagement, and then hygiene. This is people's stuff are looking for, right? And so thinking about your audience, thinking about where they are throughout the year, throughout the day, all of that. Try to identify things that people are searching for. That's everything down to, again, with taking that retailer approach. Maybe it's people looking for your location. If you have an in-person location, maybe it's people looking for your hours of operation. And so thinking about that and filtering that through your content. In the next slide, I'll help paint this picture in a closer way. This is an example that we built for the Moore agency. So this will help you kind of paint all of that into fruition. You wouldn't mind going? Oh, okay, perfect. So this is the Moore agency. So we are a full service advertising marketing agency. We're really all across the US with locations in Denver, West Palm Beach, New Orleans. Our headquarters is in Tallahassee, Florida, where I'm based. And so you think about all those dynamics that we have going on with a marketing agency, right? We have client service, we have clients that we work with, really focused on creative and development. Also, we have a big focus on public affairs as well, with our location here within Tallahassee in the capital. Just thinking on all those dynamics. So for us next year, I'm really excited. We have our 30th anniversary. So that's going to be our biggest campaign that we have going on next year. We're already planning. We've been planning for months. And so that's going to be our hero piece that we have. We also have a fun series every year called Session on Social. I know it's coming up. And so that's kind of outlined for our hero. Engaging stuff. We're lucky that we have some amazing senior leaders at Moore with really great thoughts and business acumen. And so one piece that we focus on is leadership. And so it's all those business stories. And so, for example, it's, even down to blog posts talking about 2023 strategic planning and all of those different elements. Another program that we work on is it's really cause focused, more impact. And I'm luckily able to co-lead that with one of my coworkers. And we have a great program where we volunteer at Riley Elementary. We adopted a kindergarten classroom. I'm actually going there tomorrow, which I'm super excited about. And that's regular stuff that's always going on. And then hygiene, think of all the new stuff. So we do have events, but we have right now, we're really lucky. We have a lot of job openings and a lot of new hires. And so that's really great stuff for us to work with. For people searching for those job opportunities, things like that. Also case studies, we have some really great clients across the US. And so we have work to share, and that really helps with our audience. So ultimately our end goal audience are our clients, our employees, and potential clients too. So help filtering through all of that. And so I encourage you guys just to take a step back and kind of plan some of this stuff. So, as you're looking to 2023, it gives you really good framework to help build content, to help you plan, to help you even help with roles and responsibilities. For example, maybe you're so focused on X, Y, and Z, and you really need a team member to step up to help you plan some of this stuff. Maybe you need them to take the role of planning your big hero campaigns. And so, kind of as you're outlining that, thinking about all those different dynamics and getting ahead of it. So it feels manageable. So this is a very simple content planning step-by-step. I won't go through all of this, but as you're kind of figuring out what the future looks like, as you're building your strategies and tweaking, plan. This is the best tip that I have. And I did this all the time when I worked on MasterCard. I would treat myself in the morning with a cup of coffee. And so I'm like, okay, this is a treat. I'm going to go through the planning process. I'm focused. I have a treat. I can really go through that. And so trying to find a time throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the quarter for you to plan. Then you go into the outlining process. So that's, outlining your priorities. It could be weekly, it could be monthly, whatever that is. Then you go into the draft piece, so drafting that content or pulling in someone else to help with that. And so that's your, everything down to video content, images, photos, articles, blogs, whatever you have to source. Then you go into the review process. If you're a business owner, that's probably ultimately going to you. Or if you have a team member contributing, making sure there is, a lot of eyes on it, because it is social. You can't take down anything. Well, you can, but there's always a screenshot, right? Luckily, Twitter is somewhat working on the edit feature. We'll see. There's a lot of thoughts behind that, but just being mindful of that, making sure that everyone's reviewing it and there's no typos, all of that. Then you go into the monitoring piece, so looking for engagement opportunities. If you're a certain brand, you're going to get tagged with a lot of stuff. And so that's good stuff, good content to work with. Kind of going back to that retail piece, if you are a retail business, you're going to have people coming to your store, you're going to have people taking Instagram stories, right, of them showing on their looks or what have you. And that's great content to work with, to reshare across channels. So a couple of things. This slide looks a little funky. I swear it looks good on my end. But a couple of imperatives, foundational stuff. This is hard, but when you're thinking about social content, really thinking about a goal for each post. So for example, if you have an amazing Instagram reel talking about one of your hero campaigns, let's not dilute that. Let's really focus on building people to watch that video. So let's not add a ton of stuff for them to click around or to go through. Let's really, really focus on that ultimate goal, which is video views. And so really prioritizing that, try to stay culturally relevant and sensitive as possible and being mindful of that, right? A couple of weeks ago, unfortunately, our state in Florida was impacted by Hurricane Ian. And so the content that we were working on for our clients at the Moore Agency, we were very mindful of that. And we even pushed back a ton of pre-planned stuff that we had, because we know Floridians were only focused on Hurricane Ian at that point. So there was no need for us to talk about anything else. Or if we're a brand that was, part of the Hurricane Ian support, leaning into that. And so for one of our clients that we work on, they're really focused on support for Floridians for business. And so we leaned into that. And so right now we're even doing reviews online of seeing what type of resources are available for business owners, for job seekers, for Floridians across the board. And so we're doing a daily poll and making sure Floridians have access to that information. So again, just being mindful of kind of what's going on in the world, reinforce your purpose and mission. And I know as a business owner, you probably have an amazing one. And so kind of going back to that core, right, that purpose, what are you trying to achieve? What's your mission? And making sure that you stand very proudly on that, not diluting that. Ultimately, we're trying to stop people from scrolling, right? We're exposed to, online and offline, we're exposed to hundreds of brands a day. And so how do we get people to stop? Content best practices. Think about when people are online, lean into original creative as much as possible. And there's so many great free tools on these apps that you can lean into, especially, they're always trying to roll out new things for creators, for business owners, because they want people to spend time on their platforms. And they're free tools. They're super easy to use. There's also some great resources online. Also, another fun thing to do is, as a business leader, you're going to be busy, right? You're going to be, maybe, for example, you're going to a conference, and so you're not going to be able to kind of manage your day-to-day life. Is there some great evergreen content you can push out during that time that helps you focus on said conference? Post consistently, making sure that feels realistic. Engage and monitor, listen, engage with content, look into analytics. I love all these tools, all these platforms, they have free tools, focus on insights and analytics. So take a look at that, see how this content's performing, look at your engagements, look at, how many people you're reaching, looking at your impressions and learning from that. Try to transform top performing content into other formats. And then ultimately, how do you learn from what you've learned and apply those learnings to the future? So how do you optimize your content? So I love this rule. It's hard, especially as a business owner. I get it. You think that everyone probably thinks about your business all the time, but unfortunately, audiences don't, right? They have their own life kind of to go through and lean into. And so really focusing on content about audiences, it might be informative, it might be educational, it might be entertaining. And so really focus on the ultimate audience And then you can sprinkle in yourself as well, but being mindful of that and how do you engage, right? And this applies to anything, especially at a dinner party, right? If you're at a dinner party and you're talking to someone and they're just talking about themselves, that's not fun. I sometimes try to find ways to leave that conversation, right? And so it's, it's definitely that pull, right? That pull and give, but really a lot more give than pulling about yourself. Power of first party content. I love this, but as you guys are building your business and dominating whatever that is, there's a beauty to your story. There's authenticity. You have that experience, that all those great learnings, and so you have the beauty of telling that story. And so it's so powerful when you even see any content on cross social that really shows that credibility, that authority. Only you can tell that story, right? That's so unique. And so seeing that really help engage audiences, which I get. Sometimes there might be opportunities where you really want to talk about something, but you're not able to produce that piece of content. Maybe you just don't have the time. Maybe you just don't have the brain power or the minute to even shape some thoughts. So lean into others, lean into some third parties that can help tell those stories. And brands do that, and leaders too, right? You can share those things that are motivating you across all of your channels. And so I love this. It should be playing a GIF. It's Eddie Murphy on stage dancing. Who doesn't love Eddie Murphy? But I love this point. It's all this whole concept of, comedians, right? They do this all the time. They have test audiences, right? Before they even take it on tour, which I think is just so phenomenal. And so what's working? What is engaging that audience? Lean into that. Is it because that it was an amazing Instagram reel with a really great music track? Was it a really powerful LinkedIn post from you talking about a certain topic area that you're really passionate about? Let's keep on executing that, lean into that and try to find ways to take that magic and to apply that to the future. Algorithms, and I'm almost at the end here, but, it is important for you guys to be mindful of algorithms. They change all the time, which is super fun to keep track of. But a couple of things, it's really focused on what's engaging audiences. Ultimately, that's what these platforms are prioritizing right now. Is it, especially on TikTok, right? My personal TikTok feed is really focused on fall food right now. I love to cook. I love to cuddle in the fall and lean into just really warm recipes. And so my TikTok is all focused on that because that's what I'm engaging with. That's right why I'm saving it. I'm sharing it with friends. I'm also planning for the holidays, trying to plan recipes for Thanksgiving and the December holidays. And so I'm doing a lot of that. That's all I'm seeing right now because that's what I'm engaging with. And so really focused on producing content that engages audience, because ultimately that is how you're going to reach audiences across channels. Also these platforms, just a quick note here, they do prioritize content that's paid, right? So when you're on your Facebook feed or Instagram feed or even LinkedIn feed, you're going to see content that is paid. And so if there's ways for you to kind of lean into that, that's amazing. A lot of these platforms have resources if you are a nonprofit for you to use paid tools, or even finding ways for you as a brand to lean into paid tools as well. Start small. Let's not carve out your whole marketing budget for paid, but let's do a little test because that's a way for you to cut through all the clutter on social. And so just being mindful of that and trying to lean into what's working across channels. And that is it. And I look forward to all your questions at the end and all of that good stuff.
Thank you. I really loved the framework. That's such a great way of taking something that could seem really intimidating and simplifying it and making it very actionable. I really appreciated that. So anybody watching, you can come back to this video later because we're recording it and come back to those frameworks and use them in the future. Thanks, Amelia. And now I'm going to open up some space for John to speak a little bit about his experience.
Thank you. Hey, I'll have to start with, I thought Amelia was going to run a clip of Eddie Murphy on Raw, so I thought this was about to get real exciting real quick. Amelia, great detail. I assumed, I'm a huge fan of the more agency and the more team. So I assumed Amelia was going to knock it down and provide a lot of specifics, which she did. So great presentation, Amelia. I want to go in a little bit different direction. I'm going to share some broader points on marketing communications. I want to share it as a small business owner, and some points related to marketing communications that have been more than important to me as a small business owner. I think it could be helpful for you as well, whether you're running a small business or running a nonprofit organization, whatever your lot is in life today. And especially you can weave these into the specifics of social media marketing for your company or organization and how they tie into your comprehensive approach and plan. So got a couple of points. I'll leave some time on the clock so we can get into the panel discussion and question and answers. So with that said, to start with, as a business and as a brand, you need to define who you are and who and what you're not. And very important, right? So this is a constant and evolving process, but you have to start somewhere. So, no matter where you are now, if you need to pause, slow down, just do the work to define this is who we are, right? This is what we do. My first business I started in 1996 while in undergrad, website development firm, Midnight Online, right? And long story about how we got that name, but short story is we built projects. We started at midnight, simple, right? But we built websites. That's it, right? Back end, front end work. That's what we did. And then we evolved from there. But it was easy up front to say, we build websites. This is what we do. So when somebody would ask us, hey, can you make me a brochure? Or can you, create an event or something? We didn't do that. This is what we did. And it was easy to stay in that lane and concentrate and focus on getting better at that. And then eventually and naturally, we evolved into something else. We evolved into an integrated marketing shop. And then we did all kind of things. And before we even knew what that term meant. But even in those integrated solutions, even in that creative design and advertising and event planning and all of that good stuff that we led with technology, because that's what we were built on and that's what we knew, functional technology. Then after that, very beautifully designed technology, front end work on that. But even in that, we didn't have core PR experience. That's something I picked up later. And I wasn't educated in that. I was trained in it later, but I wasn't educated in that. So we stayed away from the PR. So we knew what we did well and what we didn't do well, right? Or what we didn't do. So you just have to define that. I think these things can easily weave into your communications and marketing outreach, and again, specifically social also. Just knowing who you are. Don't get too far away from that. If you can, focus in on that and stay in that lane, and learn how to tell your story, right? Second point here, learn how to tell your story. Again, this is a constant and evolving process, a constant and evolving exercise, right? Refine, 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 refine. Who are you? Who have you been? How did you get here? Right? These questions all lend to experience and expertise, right? So I can do it. I can do it quickly, right? I can tell you my background, Kennedy Space Center, as Alex referenced, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a NASA boy, on and on and on. I can tell you how I got into website development, on and on and on. And it's important to understand that you don't always get an opportunity to choose what your platform and what the timing is, right? It could be a pitch presentation where you have 20 minutes. It could be a pitch presentation where you have 5 minutes. It could be a plane, you're sitting next to somebody on a plane and they ask you, what do you do? It could be an elevator ride. It could be before you get your entree at a conference luncheon or something of that nature. And you might have that time over salad while it's quiet before the speaker starts. You don't always get your opportunity to kind of set the framework and the timing of what that is. So you got to be prepared to answer these questions, right? And does your company or organization have a differentiator, right? Why are you special? How are you special? Again, that's an easy thing to go back to when you know who you are and what you do. And where are you all headed? What's next, right? Speaks to your vision. all of this storytelling, again, refine. A quick story, hilarious. And that's one great thing about entrepreneurship. You never, really know what the next opportunity is or how amazing it could be. But I was flying from somewhere down in Miami in the Delta Crown Room and saw Christian Slater, right? Probably telling my age, but Christian Slater, love Christian Slater as an actor. As I'm approaching Christian Slater, I realize he's sitting with John Woo. And if you know the legendary John Woo, amazing, films. And I gave him my card and told him what I did. Hey, we do website development, things of that nature. Gave him a little pitch, brief, we're in the Crown Room. I don't want to be, interrupting my man's piece. But interestingly enough, while I didn't get any business from him, what I did get every year for many years, I used to get a holiday card from John Woo, right? So you just never know the opportunity. You got to be prepared. And that window might be wide and that window might be short, but refine how you tell that story. All right. Systematically capturing content. You might hear this a lot as a business owner or as an organizational lead. People talk a lot about building content, creating content. I'm talking about, again, a bit about being systematic of how you capture that, right? Many times it's all around you, right? The content is all around you. Your products, you can take imagery of them, photography. As a matter of fact, behind the scenes here today, giving a shout out to Vaughn Wilson, he and his family, amazing photographers, right? You can hire a photographer or hire photographers to take, professional photos, or you can choose to start and do it yourself. And a lot of tips online, even with, devices like your phone that can do that, but there's content all around you, right? So your products, your services, right? These services can be communicated in writing. You can tell that story. You can verbalize those also. Your customers or clients' testimonies, testimonials, quotes, those can be converted from verbal to written and from written to creative, execution in the sense of graphically. Just data that you have, those can be turned into infographics and things of that nature. And again, if you're an organization, a lot of times organizations have annual reports, and sometimes that data is right there in black and white. You just have to draw that, extract that data, and turn it into something that can be more creative, something that can be used for storytelling, whether that's content that can be used for posts or tweets, or again, turn into infographics. A lot of time that content's right there, right, all around you. But again, it has to be a process and procedure in place for this. It won't just naturally happen, right? It'll be chaos later. So you have to think about it and plan for it so it can take place. So for example, I'm speaking here today, right? I'm presenting, right? But I know who my lead is, right? I've been talking to Alex. Thank you, Alex, for being so responsive and preparing us for being here today. So I know who my lead is, right? I know this is on the StreamYard platform, right? I could gain access to this content if I need to. If I need to take some screenshots, if I need to take some video, this is raw content that I know going in, I could use this if needed. So just think about this, good virtual discussion. If you're speaking at an event, right? It's Med Weekend. If I'm speaking at an event and all I can do is just simply ask, like, who's doing the photography? Or even if I don't know that in advance, right? If I have not talked to somebody like Alex or an event planner or a coordinator, once I get on site and I see people moving around, somebody's taking photos, ask for their card. That's content, again, that you can glean from, right? If you're speaking, somebody's taking shots of you, you could then turn that content later on into something for social, digital, or even portfolio work. So just be mindful of that and be systematic in that, okay? When communicating, whether it be social, digital format, traditional mediums, television, radio, I got a couple of things that I want you to be. I want you to think about this, as you move forward, right? So be creative, right? That can take so many different shapes and forms, but be creative. All right. And that doesn't always mean be creative in the sense of an amazing creative talent. Sometimes it just means be creative in the sense of your approach or your thought, right? Be informational. Information is good. And a lot of times you have it in your business or you have it in your organization and you can share. That's educating. So in that case, you're being informational or you're being educational, very valuable, especially in your social digital outreach. I challenge you to be diverse in thought, right? Diverse in thought, in imagery and representation, very important, right? Be diverse in thought. And that doesn't always mean we're talking about gender or we're talking about race. I mean, it could be a diversity of many things, but think about that in the sense of who you're reaching, who you're speaking to. A lot of world is out there, okay? Be clear in your communication, okay? And be consistent. Timing wise, I would love to say be constant. Sometimes that's not always possible. Even as Amelia said, hey, you could be going to a conference, you could be, getting into some heavy work, whatever it is, but try to be consistent and try to have a roadmap where you can be consistent. So don't try to go every day if that's not possible. Maybe you're going, a couple of times a week or whatever it is, but try to be consistent. Very important to be responsive, right? So if you're going to be posting and sending information out, you got to be responsive in the sense of if people are commenting and asking questions and things of that nature, you need to engage, you need to be responsive, and you need to track that. You need to make sure that you can search and respond and things of that nature. And most importantly is you got to be thorough, right? I mean, Amelia said it earlier, even with Twitter on the edit feature, that'll have its challenges, but sometimes drawing things back or deleting things, again, screenshots and are always ever present. Try to get it right the first time, right? Measure twice and cut once. So try to be thorough. Little things are big things at times when they start to blow up. So just try to be detailed and be thorough. I've always said one of the things in my background, I used to work for county government, Gadsden County and also Leon County. And we have to be where our audience is, right? I used to always say we got to be where our audience is. If our audience is riding the bus, we need to be on the bus. If our audience is watching television, we need to be, on television. If our audience is reading the newspaper, whether that's the Democrat in our community or whether that's the Capital Outlook in our community or whatever, we need to be where they are. So, just think about that. Where's your audience? And sometimes you need to have many vehicles on many channels. Sometimes, especially with creating that content, some of that content can be the same content. I agree with Amelia's posture in the sense of you can't treat it all the same in the sense of posting. You have to realize I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, whatever it is, I'm on Pinterest. You have to realize these are different formats and different platforms, and they have different strengths and different nuances. So you have to really tweak your content, but sometimes the core of that content can be the same content. But realize you can be in many spaces using many different vehicles on different channels because you want to be where they are, right? And also realize, and very important to me, realizing you're not the target, right? Many times you're not the target. So, just because, you believe this, right? You have a business, all your customers, all your clients are not going to be of the same belief that you are. So realize that, right? For example, I like Twitter a lot. My wife doesn't like Twitter. She's not a huge fan of Twitter. She uses Instagram a lot. She likes it. I'm not I don't really love Instagram. I get on it when I'm called to get on it. So just realize everybody is, again, you're not the target. Everybody doesn't think like you. And as I have said, we've been doing multicultural marketing work for decades. I mean, we started doing that work in the late 90s, and we're having conferences and symposiums by, the early 2000s. And I always said, professional marketers doing space or doing work in spaces without professional multicultural marketers, the guidance and expertise of professional multicultural marketers or diverse, people with diverse thought are like men writing books on pregnancy, right? So that's an external experience, right? I'm blessed to have my wife and I have 3 boys, and in every experience, everything I know about pregnancy is what she wanted to share with me or from an external view, right? So we need to be mindful of that companies, organizations, and our marketing and outreach that we're not the target all the time, and we don't have all the expertise, right? Sometimes it's an external experience, so we need to be mindful of that. And when we can bring on experts or people of the experience and that have experience to help guide us, it can be very valuable. We don't want to have missteps. Tools and resources. A lot of efficiency in the world for tools and resources for communications and marketing, specifically social and digital, things that allow you to do it from your computer, your laptop, your desktop, your tablet, your phone, etc., whatever kind of mobile device. A lot of efficiency out there. So just realize there are a lot of tools out there to help you do this. Especially with automation, you can plan and schedule and things of that nature, and you should take advantage of that so everything doesn't have to be so in the moment. Even though you can plan a schedule, and even some of those things you can do it natively within that application, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, things of that nature. Sometimes you can do those things natively, but also, again, a lot of tools and resources that you can plan and schedule posts and content to go out. With that, also realize you need to have timely engagement. As I said earlier, responding to things, paying attention to what's going on in the world. Sometimes you might want to jump in, having that authenticity to be able to jump in, and it's a new post now. Even though you have something scheduled, you might want to pull back, you might want to add to, you might want to just jump in and state where you as a company or organization feel in this, global situation. Or maybe it's not global, maybe it's something specific, local or regional, or something that's going on in your industry that you want to respond to. And with that said, and I'll end with this, remembering that you represent your company, you represent your organization, you all are inextricably tied together, right? So your words matter, your actions matter, your post and your digital trail matter, right? You represent them, they represent you. So pay attention to that, and also make sure that people on your team are paying attention to that, especially if you start a precedent of sharing content and sharing things about your business or organization. You're definitely a representative of that, and things that you say and do, you represent that organization as also. So that's a reflection on your business and vice versa. So with that said, hey, I hope I got a little time left on the clock, Alex, and intentionally I want to make sure that we save some time so we can get into any kind of questions and answers and panel discussion and additional dialogue.
Thank you. Thanks, John. I really liked your piece about knowing who you are as a brand and knowing who your audience is, because that could serve as such a great North Star to guide your content, and also to really outline how you can best serve your audience. But thank you so much for that. We're going to shift gears over to audience questions. The first one that we have, and I think Amelia and John, you both touched on this. What are some of your favorite free tools and resources to kind of amplify businesses' presence? I know, Amelia, you spoke about analyzing how your content is doing. What are your favorite tools?
Absolutely. It really depends on kind of where your organization sits. And so understanding your goals and objectives. So for example, totally making this up, but maybe your organization is really focused on targeting parents or moms. And so with that, moms spend a ton of their time on Facebook. Facebook has an amazing, Meta's Facebook. They have an amazing training program. It's all free, right? So if you want to get really smart on Instagram or on Facebook, they have an entire suite of training resources. You can even get certified in it. And it's even down to like 15-minute little training series about X, Y, and Z. So I love to take those on my lunch break if I'm, really trying to learn about whatever that is. And so I love that. It's under, I'll add in the chat feature, I'll add a link to it. And so, if you want to go smarter into Google Analytics, maybe you built a lot of your focus on your website, and you really want to understand, where the audience is coming from. Google has an entire suite of free things for you to learn. So just looking, where you are, where your audience is, and just type in the name, even for me, I was trying to learn about TikTok training, free. I just did a Google of that, and there's a whole suite of things that I can lean into. And so, yeah, just going into the Google and seeing what's available out there.
Yeah, I think also using using colleagues and like-sized businesses, and not always like-sized businesses. Sometimes somebody might be small and scrappy, and somebody might be huge, and they might have great resources to advise you in also. But it does depend, right? Like what you're trying to do and what you're trying to capture, how you're trying to move. But yeah, a lot of free resources out there. We have found, again, based on talking to different colleagues, different resources. For example, some jazz and blues efforts we've used. It's called Planali, or I think some people call it Planali or something of that nature. I call it Planali. That's just how I read it. But that's a service. But I tell you, there's 55 services that I could, show you that are very similar to that, right? So it really just depends what's good for you. A lot of these services have some kind of free tier before you get larger. We just had a discussion even recently about email distribution, right? And if you're trying to start, you can start with something like Mailchimp, right? And Mailchimp has some free tiers, but it does not. Once you start to grow up as a business and gain more followers, then you're going to have to get into some paid, some paid tiers. But they do email marketing great, whereas in email distribution, some other tools might be best for that, right? Might be way better than Mailchimp in doing that. So you really just have to understand what you're trying to do and figure out what's best for you, what's best for your budget, what's best for your goals, and also just realizing, like I said earlier, even about defining who you are and realizing it's a ever and evolving, process and exercise. Just realizing sometimes it's just best to start, right? That's one of the reasons I said Mailchimp, because you could start something like that today, right? You could jump into, again, using Facebook's own native scheduling and things of that nature today, right? So don't be fearful of just starting, trying, and then as you go along, sometimes you can get into informational groups and things of that nature, see what other people are doing, and then try that and figure out how to get more efficient as you grow in the business and mature in the business.
Thank you. And then one of our audience shared that they really like using Canva, and I can second that. I'm not a graphic designer, so it really helps us here at OEV come up with really nice professional looking graphics without having any real degree in graphic design.
And Alex, if I could respond to that, even Canva, right? Canva has different levels, right? And one of the things that Amelia said, what's today is not tomorrow, right? Canva, October 20th, 2022 is not Canva a year ago, right? I mean, the work that they're doing in video and all kind of things. So that's the crazy thing about social media and digital media for me. It's like, you could be an expert today and be lost a month from now, right? You could also jump in and be a newbie, 3 months from now, and you could be an expert in that, right? Because now you just latched on to something that was, kind of a burgeoning trend, and now it's like explosive, and more than everybody else. So don't be fearful. Jump on in, try it out, figure out how it can be useful for your right now, and then just try to, again, mature in that.
Yeah, and what are some of the most common pitfalls that you see when companies start kind of promoting themselves on social media using Instagram, TikTok?
I'll go first, if that's okay, John.
Ladies first. We're in the South.
You're such a gentleman. Two things: either they do too much or they don't do enough. Doing too much, they're like, oh, we have to, tweet all day, every day, or we have to do an Instagram story, every single hour. That's not the case, right? Understanding your audience, where they're spending their time, and then learning from the analytics, right? With the algorithms, they prioritize connections, right? Content from your friends or family, and then paid content. So being mindful of that. So take that back, produce a publishing frequency that feels realistic. On the other end, not doing enough, being too afraid, too scared. And I know it's scary, but just start small, right? One of my esthetician, she doesn't like to be in front of the camera, but she's really trying to build her business. And that's what's engaging her audiences, is when she's breaking down some of those things. She's kind of revealing herself that she feels comfortable with on Instagram in particular, because that's where she's really building her business and inviting her audience. And I resonate with that content because that's her. I've met her in person. And so I'm more apt to sign up for that appointment because I know I'm going to see her. She's an amazing person. She's so sweet and kind and considerate. And here she is, a woman trying to build her business, right? And so she even says, I know it's scary. This is really scary for me to show my face and to talk to a camera. But she's really, helping to build her business, and she's finding great results from that. And so I know it's scary. Start small, but just start,
I love that. Oh, I think John is on mute.
John.
Thank you. I agree. I think it's so important to think about, being realistic, right? You don't want to, like anything in life, right? You don't want to start off and, expect that, I'm going to do this every day if that's not realistic. So just set a pace and a path and a plan ahead that you could stay on. And because again, you are training your community, whoever that is, whoever you're speaking to, and hopefully you're building that community, you're training them kind of like, this is when I'm available. This is when you can find this information. This is when I'm accessible. So make sure that you're being realistic for yourself. And again, as Amelia said, you can start small and kind of just build up as you go. The other thing I'll say is also be careful, right? What I mean by that is, these devices, like I said, there's a lot of efficiency out there in the world, but I tell you, man, so many times, and we've all seen the horror stories of it also, whether it was unintentional or intentional or whatever, but it's so easy to be in one account when you think you're in another account, right? I think I'm in my personal account and I'm trying to post here, or I think I'm in a business or organizational account, but I'm still in, my personal account or another or other account. So just be mindful. And again, I spoke about being thorough and being intentional and paying attention to where you are as you start that process or as you end that process, copying and pasting and things of that nature. You don't want to, be in another account or be in your personal account. You're, talking, I might be saying something to Vaughn and now I'm in my business account and I'm, responding or liking something on my business account, which I don't need to be liking from my business account. So just be mindful and be intentional.
Yeah, I'm hearing from you guys just really trying to find that like Goldilocks zone. Like don't post too much, don't post too little, but just be consistent, be a little risky, but be very careful at the same time. One of the things that's come to mind as you guys have been speaking is how do you go about finding, those one or two social media platforms that you really like make a space on for your business? How do you go about choosing which ones to utilize the most?
You guys are probably tired of me saying this, but it depends on your audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, so for example, maybe you're an established business. Maybe you already have a presence on every channel that your audience spends their time on. Do some research. There might be a new emerging platform that they're really digging and loving. And so trying to carve out where that is. Maybe, for example, you're, again, to this similar example, maybe you're targeting parents and you just saw a research report that parents are spending more time on TikTok, to understand what their kids are up to. And then also they're finding some useful information as well. And so, maybe you are going to add that to your 2023 plan for TikTok. And so making sure you go through all those, that 6-pronged process, right? Audience, objectives, goals, understanding the channel nuances, also maybe even looking at competitors, seeing what they're doing on that channel to see what's working, what's not working, and then go into production. One fun tip that I have is, and even we have this at More, we have test accounts on all these platforms. And so if, for example, I'm producing a new piece of content that we've never done before, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea how I'm going to publish this. It's new, what have you. I use my test account to test it out, to engage with it, to see how it's looking. I might even have like a new piece of creative. I'm like, okay, this is a new size that we're using. How is this going to work? I use the test account and I'm able to see what I need to tweak. And so if I am going into something new, use that. And that helps with all of those pieces that John mentioned of just double checking everything, making sure you're in the right account, all of that. And so it goes out flawlessly. But it really kind of ultimately goes back to audiences and where they're spending their time online.
So is like the test account, like a private account that you just visually kind of look at
Yeah. So
Happens
for
with-
example, we have this on every channel. And so for Instagram, it's private. I follow it, obviously. And so I'm able to log in and produce it. And so, and we have that for everything. We have that for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn even too. So for example, I've never produced a LinkedIn article before. I did it a couple of months ago for one of our client CEO. And so I used my test account to double check it. And so this account, it's a private profile. No one follows it, has no connections, but I'm able to access it so I can test all of those things. And so when I was building that article, okay, just making sure all the little buttons and the functions and all of that was kind of set up for success, and then ultimately logging out and then using the real account to produce that.
Nice, thanks.
I'm glad you said that also about LinkedIn. I mean, again, wonderful platform, right? A lot of people are there. To me, it's gotten a lot warmer also, in the sense of it's not just so kind of stodgy business. I mean, a lot of people, for me, sometimes LinkedIn, if I had LinkedIn and Facebook up, I wouldn't know which account I'm in the sense of the content, the personal content, the sharing, things of that nature. But again, if you're finding an audience there, and again, take the wins, right? If you're finding wins there, pay attention to that, especially if you're comfortable with it. And also, realize no matter how many test accounts, no matter how much A/B testing, no matter how many analytics, things of that nature, some of the stuff people just, they kind of got picked up. A lot of people start following them, some amazing, and they became a trend, right? They in the pandemic, people were just crushing it, but they didn't have any kind of magic formula. They were just being, their authentic self and being hilarious or funny or, again, just whatever they do. And just boom, just, took off. So no magic bullet for sure. But if you're starting to find wins, and as Amelia said, paying attention to other, whether that be competitors or even people in different verticals, right? I mean, I'm a huge fan of that because, just you might be in medical and you got somebody in education or, somebody in farming and you're in chocolate. Hey, sometimes the stuff still works, humans are humans, right? So pay attention to some of the ways that they have found that success.
Thank you, guys. And then I think we maybe only have time for one more question. But what are some good ways to do that market research? I know, Amelia, you brought up, looking at keeping track of studies of like where your target audience is spending most of their time. Do you guys have any suggestions for that?
This is so simple, you guys. Earlier today, I was fine-tuning my presentation, and I was trying to get the latest updates on TikTok's algorithm. I Googled it. TikTok algorithm 2022, and a whole list of articles came up. And I know that sounds so basic, but Google's your friend. Also, TikTok is your friend. Even last couple of weeks ago, I was trying to go deep on a very random subject. I won't bore you the details. And I knew it was going to be on TikTok. And so I did a Google, and then I did a TikTok search. Guess what came up as the best TikTok? Also, another great tool for going in deeper is Reddit. It was really, really good for that. And then also to YouTube and Twitter. Just like John, I'm a huge Twitter user. I get so much information for my job, for my personal life, and all of that. And so I think those are all great tools just to search, right? So if you're trying to find, where do women age blah 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 spend their time online, just use that and go from there and kind of see what's popping up. And it might take you a little bit. You might have to go to the second page to find some information, but you'll find it once you kind of understanding how people search, even things down to like how to. So if I'm trying to figure out how to publish an Instagram's reel, how to Instagram reel, and I'm going to find so much information, especially on YouTube, for more of that video, like walk by step-by-step piece. So yeah, just a couple of fun tips for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. As Amelia said, a lot of information already out there, right? Just spend some time. Also, I think, finding people with subject matter expertise, right? On the Black men's health side of my, attention, we keep a network of experts in certain areas. And, yes, I could do a lot of searching, researching, jumping into data, but sometimes just finding the right subject matter expert can help, point us in the right direction a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. And sometimes even starting with a generalist, but somebody that has a lot of knowledge in whatever the area. Again, for us, in that case, we're talking about Black men's health. They could point us in, oh yeah, here's the foremost expert on, HIV/AIDS awareness and education. Here's a foremost expert on diabetes. Here's somebody I know about sickle cell, right? So they can literally point you in a direction. And as you can imagine, in their world, it's all around them because this is their expertise. This is what they do. So for them, they have tons of resources around them because this is their focus. So finding that subject matter expertise is very valuable at times for me.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, talking to people is just so useful. But it looks like we're out of time. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And you guys are a wealth of information. For anybody watching, this will be recorded, so you can come back to this information at any time. But yeah, nice to see you guys. Nice to meet you guys.
This was a treat.
Thank you, Alex.
Spend time with you guys this Thursday. Stay warm.
Yeah, stay warm. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Bye.